afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this blue planet. Good morning in the US, good afternoon in Europe, good evening in Asia. We are so thrilled today to welcome Jessica Shea, Vice President, Wellness, Retail, and Leisure Operations at Hilton Worldwide, for this conversation about wellness for all. Jessica, thank you so very much for finding the time.
Thank you, Jean-Guy. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
With World Wellness Weekend taking place in about 2.5 weeks, we're having this series of conversation with movers and shakers, leaders in the hospitality, wellness, and spa arena to talk about wellness for all. Not just wellness for all who can pay, clients, members, and God knows you have an amazing program with Hilton Honors, but really wellness for all, also the staff or associates, also the community, and wellness for you also. So as you remember, because I will never forget, a few years ago at ISPA, a breakfast hosted by Hilton and the Green Spa Network, talking about the Sustainable Development Goals and how much it meant for Hilton as a brand with over 7,600, 800 properties around the world to have a positive impact on the planet. The United Nations voted unanimously 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Good health and well-being for all is the third one, not just vaccinations with doctors and nurses, but I believe an opportunity for professionals in hospitality, fitness, beauty, spa to take a stand. So let's dive right in with wellness for all of your guests, all of your Hilton Honors members. What are the innovations, innovative programs and activities that you have been implementing with the Wellness Vision and will be rolling out for World Wellness Weekend?
Well, thanks, Jean-Guy. This is actually a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, obviously, being in hotels and hospitality, essentially my whole career, and focusing on wellness. I think it's an incredibly exciting time, one we've never seen before in hospitality and travel. And I see Hilton embracing it, and that is people really, really, really care about wellness. As you know, a silver lining coming out of COVID is people understand that lifestyle changes and preventative healthcare can have a huge impact on how we thrive and how long we live. And that's for everybody. And Hilton has really taken what I would call an industry-leading position, that we want to make sure that we are looking after people's wellness while they travel as much as we can. And that is, to your point, for everybody that comes to our hotels and works in our hotels. And we operate in almost every country in the world, and we open a hotel a day. So that is a huge, huge footprint. And so different than some of our more maybe niche or luxury only competitors in hospitality, we see it as an obligation to figure out how we deliver wellness to people across our 24 brands and across the globe. And one of the things we recognize is our core business, and also a core piece of wellness, or the foundation of wellness, is sleep. And this, as a hotel company, that's what we do. We do sleep. And that's what people come to us for over everything else, is a good night's sleep. So we have really taken an approach to look at all of our different brands, all of our different categories of brands, and how can we deliver a good night's sleep. And so that you'll see over the coming years take different shapes and forms with our new builds and our current hotels. It could look like just simply focusing on the built environment to make sure it's cool and dark and quiet, and the environment is right for sleep, all the way to certain amenities and programs and experiences that help support a good night's sleep. So that is something I'm really proud of. The other sort of three pillars of the platform that we're looking at in wellness are around nutrition, movement, and spa and mindfulness. So the partnerships, the programs, the design, our operational focus, our commercial focus with wellness is going to be around those 4 pillars. And this is something the entire company is rallying around. It's an enterprise initiative. because we see it as really important. And you can see that coming to life in some of our hotels already, which is really exciting to see.
We are so aligned with your vision, with Amanda, also Louise in Europe, and all of your teams all over the world. You mentioned your 4 pillars, the 5 pillars of wellness that we launched World Wellness Weekend with in 2017 were sleep and creativity, because with a good night's sleep, there's so much juice you can have for the following day and ideas you can implement. Nutrition, and it's not just about what you choose to eat because it feels good or it's you're on a diet, but it's what you decide to put in your body as brain food and also fueling your immune system. There is also movement and vitality. And of course, being French, I cannot not speak about the Olympics in Paris, but soon you'll have them in Los Angeles. But it's not about movement to break records. Sometimes it is, but it's really about discovering the best version of ourselves, and with movement, feeling those pleasure hormones of endorphins and oxytocin and serotonin, so feeling great. So movement and vitality, the vitality that we can also invest in our life, moving, being mobile, mindfulness and serenity also, because we can flex our muscles as much as we want. And I think I should be flexing those a little bit more to make them more prominent, but definitely also pacifying our brains is really important. Our 5th pillar is about purpose and solidarity. A few examples that I have seen that are remarkable for people to expect if they travel or if they are already located in around the world. Hilton Pilar in Argentina will be organizing a wellness retreat with one of our ambassadors, and lots of activities and personal discoveries over there. Jiwa Wellness, Conrad Bali, will be organizing activities for serenity and activities for vitality. Vitality first on the beach with a resort boot camp, in the pool, aqua aerobics, mindfulness, floating sound bath for everyone to float around, and a sway sleep therapy. And maybe in a second, you'll tell us about what the sway sleep therapy is, because it is remarkable. I had the chance of experiencing it in Bali at your property, your Conrad property last December, but people should know about it. And a twin heart meditation for people, honeymooners going there to really feel each other and meditate together. And then in Rome, at the Waldorf Astoria, the Rome Cavalieri, there will be a yoga masterclass and a session with a mental coaching master, an award-winning bestseller about understanding how you can frame your train of thought and communicate better with others. So when sometimes people say, yeah, wellness, it's like, it's yoga, it's a bit of fitness, stay hydrated, take the staircase instead of the elevator, boring. I think your properties are proving them wrong. Is there something you would like to tell us about the sway sleep therapy and maybe another example of activities for guests or members during World Wellness Weekend?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things you pointed out, I'd love to just touch on, and that is that, hotels, especially resorts, are built to support people's wellness. We have all of these different areas of a hotel that you can activate to make sure people are moving, they're eating well, they're sleeping well. I mean, they're actually like, could be little health centers of what is possible while you're traveling. And so I think it's a really exciting time for us to look at each of those spaces and identify what we can do to activate around them. Again, I'd go back to sleep for a minute and just talk about a property in a place that's near and dear to me, which is Kililani Spa at Grand Wailea. We recently opened it earlier this year, reopened it, re-envisioned it after it being closed for a few years for renovation. Many of it knew it as Spa Grande at Grand Wailea. It's an iconic spa and property. And a couple of things that we're doing there. We just recently partnered with Dr. Rebecca Robbins. She's a Harvard doctor, PhD scientist. and the studies of sleep. And so I've heard her lecture. She's really amazing. And she's become our sort of Hilton go-to expert as we're developing different programs across the chain scale to deliver a great night's sleep. And she led a retreat at Grand Wailea in June, which was incredible because it was, a few days of activities that are supportive of sleep, but also educating people on what they can take back at home and have a great night's sleep. And this was launched in conjunction with the wellness rooms that we have at Grand Wailea, which are filled with amenities to promote well-being. Because I think what you said is really important. It's an opportunity to help optimize people's lives for whatever reason they're traveling to that destination, whether it be to get married or to have a family reunion or to have a corporate meeting. Again, we as hoteliers have an obligation to help people be at their very best while they're at our hotels, so they show up at their best for whatever reason they're there. And we take that really seriously. And I think you'll see more of these sort of wellness and well-being amenities in our guest rooms, workout kits, yoga mats, sort of the basics, but also programming on our TVs for mental health and meditation and things like this, and nutritious wellness bars, things that just give people that extra boost that they need, because travel still can be daunting and it can be exhausting. And we want to help people recover from that as much as possible. So speaking of Grand Wailea, they are doing some wonderful activations for World Wellness Weekend, including we've got breath work, floating sound baths, boot camps, their regular menu of, yoga classes and fitness classes and cycling. It's just a great place to really achieve, some wellness goals with a little bit of Hawaiian flair.
It's definitely on my bucket list to go back to Hawaii. Part of my heart stays in Hawaii. I never went to Maui yet, but I went to the Grand Island and Oahu. But I'm so glad you mentioned Grand Wailea and the Kilolani Spa that just reopened I take my hat off to David Ehrlich and his team over there, because World Wellness Weekend always starts on Friday at sunrise in Fiji, because officially this is where the sun rises for the first time on the planet. But it will go 3 times around the globe until we officially close at Grand Wailea at the Kilolani Spa with David and his team at sunset on Sunday 22nd for the equinox. So we will go from Fiji to Maui, starting and finishing. So it is a great, great place. Talking about David and his team and all of your teams in close to 8,000 properties in 150 countries, please tell us a little bit more about the Thrive program you have implemented, because as a consultant, an educator, I have seen over the course of 20 years that there is no meaningful guest experience without meaningful staff experience.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I've worked for several companies and they've all had various, I would call, we call them team members at Hilton, different benefits and different programs to touch on well-being. But I have to say, I've never seen anything quite like Thrive at Hilton. And it's really centered around body, mind, spirit, both while at work and while outside of work, and achieving, like we're saying about consumers and travelers, that's what we need as people to show up at our best as well. And I've just been so impressed by the benefits. It's not just sort of, oh, you're offered one yoga class a week or something. It's truly about the benefit package that supports mind, body, spirit. So I was so impressed the other day to get an invitation to join online physical therapy as one of my Hilton benefits. I've been looking at going to physical therapy, but I can't really find the time. And you can do it online, which is just amazing, and that's supported through Hilton. There's mental health resources. We have caregiver resources. I got an invitation to do a pelvic floor health clinic through my benefits at Hilton. I mean, really cool things that are a little bit more outside the box and is supportive of people's long-term well-being. Also just education on financial planning and retirement planning, things that touch the mind. We have great learning courses at Hilton University, and sabbaticals that reinforce the need for rest. So I just feel like our chief human resources and our company, our CEO really understands that to have people care for our guests, our team members need to feel very cared for and be at their best. And that really comes through in tactical, practical ways. Oh, Shangi, I think you might be muted.
You're absolutely right. You did mention some vast areas out of the usual box for benefits. Mental health, is it something you still see very present as a need, a requirement from your staff to either help them deal with their own stress, anxiety, and I think related also to financial wellness, but also maybe sometimes to be able to help in a positive way colleagues to identify people who do not dare say, but who really need someone, or some of your staff who can find the tools to pacify, to calm down maybe a guest whose plane was late and then arriving, and unfortunately everything is perfect at the property except it's raining or it's cloudy. And I know some GMs that I've seen who say, we do everything we can, but when they come, for instance, to see the Mediterranean Sea, and they open their windows, they arrive on their balcony of their beautiful suite, if the sun is not out, and if the sea is not blue, they say, where's the sea? What do you mean, where's the sea? The sea is right there. Where is the blue sea? It's cloudy. When is it sunny? I'm here for the sea and for the sun. So sometimes we need to find ways and tools to help them, either for us or for other staff or clients. Are there special tools about mental health that you, with Hilton, are implementing with the Thrive program?
Well, I think what's wonderful specifically about the spa and wellness areas of the hotel is we have incredibly empathetic leaders in those roles. And I'd say I'm super fortunate to work with leaders who have what I call a great balance of head and heart. They know how to run their business, but they also do so with such passion and heart and care. To me, the spa is the soul of a hotel. It's where you go for all the feeling and for really like living and breathing and feeling the experience of the place that you're in. So you bring up the Mediterranean. If it's raining, well, hopefully there's a spa treatment that will take your mind off it and help you to relax. But I do think the spa department in a hotel is also full of team members who are healers and who are, have great emotional capacity to help educate other people in the hotel, other team members in the hotel on how to reduce stress and how to speak calmly with the guest that you mentioned that is upset. I mean, we really are this unique crew of wellness warriors that I think help to spread that throughout an entire hotel based on just our own internal passions. And then, of course, it's up to every leader in their area to know the tools within Hilton, whether it's online mental health coaching or breath work classes or stress reduction tips. We have all of those tools available. It's just at our fingertips to be able to point people in the right direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about community? Because you have so many hotels in so many brands right smack in cities. But you also have amazing resorts out in the sticks where there's not a lot happening. And this is for this reason that your clients travel miles and halfway around the world to be in those amazing locations. What is really important over there is the community, because this is where your staff is living and being educated, and different generations. How are you, with the Travel with Purpose program, having a positive impact, not just for clients, as we've seen, staff, associates, but also with community?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. The Travel with Purpose program centers around three main pillars of our obligations as corporations at work. environmental goals, social goals, and governance. So we call it our ESG program. So what you're talking about is our social goals. And as I mentioned, we operate in over 100, almost every country in the world. So we see it, and I hear our CEO speak to this all the time, and I see the programs that come out of it. We feel a huge obligation to work responsibly in the communities that we're in, and that is around, humanitarian rights, diversity, inclusion, outreach into the local communities, hiring practices. Everything we do through that lens of being good to the place that we operate. So that's first and foremost. And I'd say attached to that is making sure that we recognize the reason why people travel to some of these places, and give them the opportunity to experience the communities that they're in and to get that sense of place, so that they're not just anywhere, especially when you're going to, far-flung places, and that's why you're there. So we put a lot of thought into how we build in those communities, how we hire, how we operate, how we work. Obviously, we're a very visible public company, so that's all out there for people to see. And it also links to our environmental goals, which are really around reducing waste, reducing water usage, reducing wattage, reducing, energy costs. So we have some ambitious goals to make sure that we are all focused on the importance of that.
Thank you for clarifying, and thank you for making such a world of a difference everywhere you do business. There's also another dimension of you, and you are a board member of the International Spa Association, ISPA. Mm-hmm. This is where we met many, many years ago. This is where part of my remote family lives, and I'm super happy to travel to the conference every year. This year was in Arizona. Next year we'll be in Colorado in March. So watch that space. As a board member of ISPA, and let's take a step away from Hilton for a second. What are the other examples that you have seen among other major members of ISPA promoting wellness for all, whether guests or staff or community?
Sure, thank you. And yes, I just have to say that being an ISPA board member has been a highlight of my career. It is just such an amazing organization that does so much for our industry. And I felt that before, but now being on the board and seeing it in action, it is incredibly impressive. The resources, the member benefits, the care that the team and that all the members put into what this association is really, really amazing. So I appreciate everybody's support of it and look forward to seeing everybody in March. I did reach out to some of my colleagues and just get a little bit of another awareness of what people are doing around supporting well-being for all, especially around employees or team members. And I actually connected with Jeremy McCarthy at Mandarin Oriental and learned about their, I don't want to get it wrong, but it's their colleague wellness week, where they are for every colleague, every hotel and corporate office around the globe. They started by activating a week in September where everybody had access to yoga, hiking, cycling, nutrition, all these things that support wellness. And it gained so much traction. It now has, it's now a full month of all these wellness activations and wellness activities for colleagues. So I think that's just really exciting. And I know wellness is a pillar for Mandarin Oriental. So not only are they very focused on delivering it for guests, but also making sure the colleague experience lives and breathes it as well. And I think the more companies that adopt that kind of thinking, the more we're going to be able to spread this mission. And I know just talking to, local day spa, it can run the whole spectrum of the type of businesses that we have, just really focused on making sure people are able to show up at their best for work. And I think that takes even small changes like, when I was coming up in the industry, there was no scheduling flexibility. You worked 40, 50 hours a week. You had a set schedule for 2 weeks and that was it. And if you couldn't do it, you could basically find another job. And now there's just a lot more nuance and a lot more empathy and understanding and compassion for people's priorities and how they need to work to fulfill not only their professional goals, but also their personal ones, whether it be a caretaker at home or kids or whatever it is. People have a lot of things they're prioritizing more so or as much as work. And so I think that is the true showing of wellness and well-being, is understanding and being flexible to those needs.
It's very true. Thank you for mentioning Jeremy. Quick note, if you have not read Jeremy's book, The Psychology of Spa and Well-Being, all of you listening around the planet, go on your browsers and order it. I know Christmas is still a long way to come, still 4 more months, but make Christmas early for you. It's a book I already bought 3 times, one for me, and I offered it twice. So The Psychology of Spa and Well-Being is a remarkable book. And Jeremy did studies in positive psychology, and he put everything that he did for his thesis into this book. It's absolutely remarkable. Also, thank you also for highlighting the fact that sometimes spa people are considered to be, oh, we're huggers. If there's a tree, we'll hug it. If there's spa peeps in the room, we'll hug them. Actually, we're leaders, and we lead with mind. We lead with heart, and it's really about not just going somewhere fast. It's going there far, but together, and raising the bar, not just for the people who come who want to be in their best shape, but also for the people who show up at work every day, and creating more flexible work hours, more benefits, so that they can be excited to come, not because they have to, because it's their job number 2 or number 3 to put food on the table, but it's really a career in which they can grow, and if they have a passport, where they can grow internationally, which is remarkable. We could go on and on and on, but I'm conscious of time. I did ask you for 15 minutes, and I realized that I just lied to you, and now it's blatant and everyone can see because it's been 28 minutes and I have to apologize in front of the whole world. So please accept my apologies, but I have one last question to ask you. After discussing about wellness for clients and members, wellness for staff, and wellness for community, please tell us what wellness is for you, how it is defined, where you find your wellness space, and what you will be doing during this 8th edition of World Wellness Weekend on September 20 and or 21st and or 22nd.
Well, thank you for asking, and I'm happy to have taken the time with you, Jean-Guy. It's always a pleasure. So I guess probably a good example is World Wellness Weekend, September 20 to 22. I will be between 2 pretty extensive work weeks of travel. So we have an exciting conference coming up for Hilton next week. So a lot going on. And so I will probably do what I normally do when I have that kind of time, which is really focusing on my 2 mantras of the year, which is strengthening and nourishing. So I'm sure there will be rest and some hot yoga classes, and a hike outside with my daughter, and a great meal at a family restaurant, and maybe some meditation if I can work it in. But just trying to, for me, I love to be on the go, and I love to be busy, and I love my job, and I love to throw myself at it, but I also need downtime. And I'm fortunate enough to live in Montana, where nature is extremely accessible, and I can walk outside and just do a 20-minute walk in the woods, and I feel fantastic. So that balance of rejuvenation, recovery, rest is really important to me, alongside a good hike, some exercise, some weights and protein. So I try to work it all into 2 or 3 days when I can.
That's fantastic. So a little bit of vitality, a little bit of serenity. On this note, let's end with the sign that we have invented for wellness around the world, which is a victory of the mind and a victory of the body. And when body and mind are together, if we can see your hands,
wow,
Jessica.
That's so creative.
That is victory of the mind and victory of the body. And when body and mind are together, then you may have wellness, with the W for World Wellness Weekend. So maybe you will flip it under for Montana, where you will be, and then you will enjoy wellness in Montana. Thank you so very much, Jessica.
Thank you, Jean-Guy,
for joining us today, and for sharing so much about what you and your teams around the world are doing for Wellness for All.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.